What's up guys, it's K2 Limited. Today I'm in the video for you guys, and today I'm going to be giving my impressions and thoughts on chapter 13 of Time Paradox Ghostwriter, which is a fairly new manga in Shonen Jump, and I just want to give you my thoughts on the new chapter because I have been reading it from the start and I actually have been really enjoying it. A lot of the recent manga that's been coming to Shonen Jump I haven't been enjoying that much because they've been mostly like gag manga, and I've honestly not been like a big fan of the art styles of those manga. But with Time Paradox Ghostwriter, I think the story is really interesting. I'm a sucker for like timey-wimey time travel stuff, so I love that, and I also think that the art style is just like really good and something that really meshes well with me. So pretty much in this chapter not a whole lot happened in terms of progressing the story, but a lot of time did pass, or maybe no time passed. Pretty much what we see in this chapter is Sasaki try to write the perfect White Knight manga, and it's not like him where he usually was just writing, you know, the next chapter, the next couple of chapters, and trying to one up whatever Aino would have done, but he's pretty much writing the entire series. And not only did he write the entire series in this chapter, he wrote it I think like 6 or 7 times. He wrote it a shit ton of times, and the way he's doing it is he pretty much struck a deal with that Mirai future robot, and pretty much came to a compromise where he would be pretty much stuck in time until he thought he was ready to give a version of White Knight to his editor. In this chapter, I think a lot of time has passed. He hasn't physically aged or anything because, like, you know, time has stopped in the world. I like how they kind of went with this where like he can move anything he wants. So right when he let goes of something, like for example if he let goes of his pencil, it just stays where it was. So that's how they're handling it in this manga, and pretty much the amount of time that's passed is I think over 30 years. I think at some point they're like 2,400 days have passed, and I believe that's around 30 years. And I think probably more has passed because at some point he just stops counting, because I like that they explain that the only reason he was counting is just to kind of keep sane, but at this point he's been in it for so long where he thinks he has a good grasp of it. He doesn't really need, like, you know, time counting or anything to keep sane, and so he just stops counting time and 100% focuses on writing the manga. Now, in terms of what I thought about this chapter overall, I thought it was a pretty good chapter, not like the most exciting chapter from the ones we've seen. One thing that like I have noticed in this manga, and a lot of people have started to notice, is that the pacing is like insanely fast. Like, you would think like they would get to certain story beats like in 30, 40, 50 chapters, but they're hitting them like in chapter 8, chapter 9. We're just in chapter 13, and like so much has happened. Aino has already died in the present world and he's trying to fix it, and it's going really fast. But that's probably just a direct consequence of the way the Shonen Jump system works, where if your story is not pulling the readers kind of right away, it can get axed and then gone forever from serialization. Then the author or the mangaka has to kind of write a whole new series. So I can kind of see why the mangaka wants to, as soon as possible, make the story as interesting as possible and start with a breakneck fast pace, and then maybe once it's kind of confirmed that he's, you know, kind of safe, then start fleshing it out more. So again, that's just kind of a consequence of the system, but that is something that I've noticed with this manga. Another thing with this chapter that I noticed is that Sasaki is very stubborn about making the best White Knight. I know we've kind of seen through his character that he really wants to do it. He really wants to save Aino and make sure that, you know, she's living in the present. But because we're going at such a fast pace, a consequence of that, in my opinion, is that we don't really fully have his motivations behind it. Like, I get if you want to save someone's life and you have a dream of, you know, writing a manga that pleases the entire world, that we see that's similar between Sasaki and Aino, and he wants to do that, right? But like at a certain point, you kind of have to take it with the grain of salt of how hard he's trying to do this. Like, if he was, for example, the time didn't stop and he was trying for like a month straight to try to, you know, get the situation in control and make the perfect White Knight, I'd get it. If it was a year or two, I'd still get it. Like, you're trying to do it for this one cause of trying to save someone. But he's been doing this for like 30 years. That's a long time, and I'm not sure if how much I can believe that. Again, I think the reason I don't really 100% believe it is because of how fast-paced the story has been, and because we haven't fully been able to flesh out the motivations 100%. So I think that's just a consequence of that. But I hope that at some point in the future we kind of backtrack a bit and see exactly why he really wants to do it so bad, because being able to do the same task for 30 years straight isn't any easy task for any human to do. And again, I feel like most people would go insane in this situation, and that's exactly what the future robot Mirai told Sasuke, where yeah, sure, I'll put you in this world, but I don't think you're going to come back sane if you do want to come back. But here we see he's perfectly fine, he's living normally, and he's just writing the manga, and he's written the entire manga like 8 times or whatever, and at the end of the chapter we see that he's good to go. And yeah, so like hopefully we do get more motivations, and if we do get that at some point, I feel like the chapter will be a lot better in hindsight. But right now I feel like there's something's missing, which don't really make it clear to me why he's trying so hard to save her, where he spent 30 years of his life doing this, even though it's technically not been 30 years. So I guess that could be used as a reasoning, because time is not moving. It's easier for a person to give more effort and more time into something, because technically no time's being wasted on his part. But then again, hopefully we do get some kind of more fleshing out in the future. Another thing that I thought was interesting is at the end, where he just kind of puts the ice cream cone of the boy back into his little ice cream cone holder. That was a little nice touch, just to show that Sasuke, you know, is still a decent human being. It's just not like he's going to like you know, progress through time and he just leaves everything as is. It's just a nice touch showing that Sasuke is still himself. He hasn't completely changed or gone insane, where he just cares about the manga, but he can, you know, do a decent human thing. And also I think that's just another hint to show that yes, he is 100% going to progress time again, because he obviously fixed the cone, because once time progresses, it's not going to fall anymore. So I think that was a smart hint of showing that too. Yeah, so those are pretty much my thoughts on chapter 13 of Time Paradox Ghostwriter. I'm pretty interested to see kind of what happens after he, you know, starts time again. I'm curious to see if he's going to be like the same, because like as we see, he hasn't aged at all. But I wonder if like once he progresses time, does everything he did kind of catch up at once? Maybe he does age once he starts time. Maybe like he's like 30 years older somehow or something. So we don't really know that. We don't know the rules of this universe 100%, but I'm kind of curious to see what happens in chapter 14. So those are my thoughts on chapter 13. I'd love to know your thoughts on this chapter too. Let me know down in the comments below. I hope you guys subscribe and like too, and I'll see you next time.